Howard Hughes has gotten, I think since The Aviator, such a bad rap because he really was an unbelievably accomplished man, accomplished businessman, entrepreneur, aeronautical engineer, philanthropist, movie director, producer, and not as accomplished in his personal life, but he was one of the wealthiest men in the world. And it's really quite a story. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start with, as a psychoanalyst, where it all began, the beginning of his life. And it's kind of a curious story about his birth. He's supposed to be born on Christmas Eve, 1905, although there
Correct.
seems to be some dispute. There's a record of his birth and then a record of his baptism, which claims a different birth date.
What happened was there's nothing on file with the Texas Department of Health where birth certificates are filed. We know that because we went there as part of our research. And in World War II came around, Hughes's aunts had to file an affidavit attesting to exactly when he was born because it had to do with his draft deferral and things of that sort. So why this disappeared, nobody's ever seemed to figure out. But we made the point in our book that it's just typical of Hughes. The mystery surrounding
Another
the man.
mystery.
Even exactly why this particular document disappeared is just another one of those things.
But he was born to parents who, he was an only child.
Only child, and the reason he was an only child is because after his birth, the doctors advised his mother that she should have no more children because it was such a difficult birth. And as sometimes happens in a situation like that, his mother was from a fairly aristocratic Texas family in Dallas, and
She was actually descended from
French Huguenots. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So
That went way back to the early part of the United States history. And the father was from a very interesting family in the Midwest. Grew up in a little town in northeast Missouri. One of those all-expense-paid trips that I had to visit this little town that had about 300 people in it. His father was a railroad lawyer at a time when railroads were extremely aggressive in terms of laying down track, putting things across the country. Railroads in the late 1800s are not unlike the technology industry today. Very similar kind of thing. But actually many people argue that the railroads were far more significant in changing American life than even our technology has today, because suddenly people could get around. Anyway, that's the way you made money. That's what his father was involved in. I'm sorry, his grandfather was involved in. And then his father was one of these lovable characters who everybody, a hail fellow, well-met kind of guy, everybody liked him. But he just bounced from one thing to another, never seemed to make any money until he married Howard's mother, who didn't have any money, but she seemed to be somewhat of a stabilizing influence. And as part of that process, he began exploring for oil. And in the process of exploring for oil, this is Howard's father, he came across the fact that everybody in the oil business was frustrated because they could not get a drill bit that would actually go into the ground and actually tap the reserves at a proper force. Every time one of these drill bits went in, it ground up and turned to smithereens. So his father, in conjunction with some others, invented a drill bit, which went by the marvelous name of the rock eater.